Back on Patriot League All Access, speaking with all the head men's soccer coaches in the Patriot League, and on with us right now from Lehigh University is the head coach, Dean Koski. Coach, appreciate you taking a few minutes of your time today. Thank you so much.
It's great to be here. Thanks for taking the time to speak with me about Lehigh.
Well, let's talk about Lehigh, and as you enter your 20th season as the head coach in Bethlehem, and when you first took the job and you first coached your first game at Lehigh back in 1992, did you think that when 2011 rolled around you'd still be in the same position?
Yeah, that's a great question, and I would say probably not. Certainly with the way Division I soccer was early on in my first 10 years, there was a lot of turnover in college soccer and a lot of opportunities. So, to be able to be at one institution for 20 years has really been a gift for me. And when you can align yourself with a school like Lehigh and a league like the Patriot League, I'm not sure there are better schools for me and better conferences for me based on what I value, both academically and athletically.
What is there anything specific about Lehigh? I think you just kind of started to touch on it, but is there anything specific about Lehigh that's made it such a great place and a place that's been perfect for you? And ultimately the question is, why stay at Lehigh for 20 years?
Lehigh, its mission and vision are certainly what I believe in academically, what I believe in, in terms of what role sports should play, and also about helping young adults grow. And I feel very strongly about that. And certainly there have been opportunities that I could have considered over the last 20 years, but I've always been a great believer that the grass isn't greener elsewhere. And when you find a place that really values the same things that you value, and you have all the things that you would want as a coach, and it's such a great area, and it's a great place to raise my family. I don't think the grass is greener elsewhere. I certainly have yet to discover that. So while I am very content in my role here at Lehigh, it doesn't make me any less hungry to continue to compete for championships and to get in the NCAA tournament and compete for a national championship.
Well, before we talk about your program's ability to do that this upcoming season, your experience in the Patriot League and your tenure has given you the unique perspective that not a lot of other coaches have had, even in some of the other sports that we have, is you've been able to sit and watch the Patriot League evolve pretty much over the course of its entire history. So what are your thoughts as you reflect back briefly on the 20-plus year history of the Patriot League and how you've seen it grow during your tenure at Lehigh?
The area where it's grown the most is its competitiveness from top to bottom. I would say that my early years, there was a distinct group of top four teams, and they were fairly consistent. And then there were teams that were just maybe in and out, but there wasn't the kind of parity that there is today. As well, you would look at a lot of Patriot schools did not compete that well outside of the conference play, and when they played Big East teams and Ivy League teams and Big Ten teams, we didn't do well. That has changed, extraordinarily in many ways. Where not only do we have great parity within our conference, if you look at the results outside of the conference, I think the Patriot League has done very well over the last decade. With schools getting at-large bids in the NCAA tournament, being able to go out and play some of the top teams in the country and get results, I think speaks volumes of how the league has grown on men's soccer. And I would argue that probably men's soccer, of all the Patriot League sports, has perhaps grown the most and has been the most competitive at the NCAA level.
Just a quick view back at 2010, finishing with an overall record of 8-8-2 and 4-2-1 in the Patriot League, finishing second in the regular season standings, but falling in the tournament semifinals to American. What were some of the things that went wrong for your club last season? Especially as you get to that point where you did go 4-2-1 in the league, but then lost in the semifinals. Can you kind of pinpoint anything that maybe didn't go well for your club that maybe was one of the ultimate reasons that you weren't able to get to that tournament title game and vie for the Patriot League championship at the end?
Yeah, there's always myriad factors that play into how a team finishes at the end of the year, and I thought that we had positioned ourselves in a way that we wanted to position ourselves. First is that we wanted to play as rigorous a non-conference schedule as we could, in order for us to be ready for Patriot League competition and in fact the championships. And being able to finish second overall certainly fulfilled one of our goals, was to make the tournament and position ourselves in a place to win the tournament. I will say that injuries to James Graff and not being 100% really changed our dynamic midway through the season when we had to pull him out of the role that we had hoped, and there was a trickle down effect. So I feel like we spent much of the season grooming Cam Omsberg as a center back in his first year playing there, and I think Cam did very well for us, but not having James' experience back there and not having him at 100% going to the playoffs certainly made things a little bit more challenging for us. And lastly, I would say that I probably over-prepared our guys going into that tournament, that I didn't feel that we walked in there fresh and rested. We had 4 o'clock exams that week, and we trained sometimes from 7 o'clock till 9:30 at night just after exams, and I think that I would say to you that I overtrained them, over-prepared them. So I learned some good lessons, and if we're fortunate enough to get in the playoffs this year, I can assure you that we'll be much more well-rested and mentally rested than we were this past year.
You just touched on it a couple minutes ago about your non-conference schedule and wanting to prepare for the Patriot League schedule. And as we look to your non-league schedule this upcoming fall, you're playing a couple of teams that finished in the final coaches top 25 poll, Cal and Princeton. You're taking that trip out to Cal. You also play Stanford while you're out there early in the season. You have games against Penn and St. Peter's, which were receiving votes in the final coaches poll last season. Now, what's your philosophy when you put together the non-league schedule, and what's the attractiveness of some of these games that you have on the non-league slate coming up?
Well, we're fortunate enough to be in a region that boasts some very competitive Division I teams, and so one of our goals is to ensure that we play the best teams within an hour and a half that we can, particularly midweek, so our kids are not missing a lot of classes. And we're fortunate to be close to all the Philadelphia schools, New Jersey schools, and New York schools where we don't have to ask our kids to leave at 9 o'clock in the morning. So trying to find competitive D1 teams for our midweek games in this region is a priority. Secondly is that we want to play as many top 25 schools as we can first within the region, and then if we can't find those schools within the region, then we'll try to schedule at least one out of region tournament where we are going to see different teams, because anytime you get in the NCAA tournament, you're never assured who you're going to play in the first 2 rounds. And while more often than not they're regional, look, we've gone down and played Duke in the first round and Virginia in the first round, and so playing teams that are very different than our Northeast teams that we see all the time is important to us. So having the opportunity to go out and play Stanford and a Cal really will expose us to a different brand of soccer, a very good conference, 2 very good schools, and get us on the West Coast. And now that we're recruiting more nationally and having kids look at Lehigh from the West Coast, I think it's really important for us to get out there and give our program some exposure and the Patriot League some exposure.
Dean Koski is entering his 20th season at Lehigh University as the head men's soccer coach, just speaking with us now on Patriot League All Access. Coach, as always, appreciate your time, and good luck this season, and we'll talk to you down the road.
Thanks very much. I'm looking forward to the 20th season, and it's a week away from preseason, so wishing the best to everybody, and we'll see you down the road.